It's September 1940. A man is standing in a line on a Warsaw street. German soldiers are doing the sweep, grabbing civilians, shoving them into trucks. Most people in that line are terrified. This man isn't. He chose to be here. He let them take him because he needed to get inside the most dangerous place in Nazi-occupied Europe. A camp the world barely knew existed yet. A place called Auschwitz. His name was Witold Pilecki, and what he did there is one of the most extraordinary acts of espionage in human history. Trigger warning. This video contains descriptions of mass murder, torture, and the Holocaust. Viewer discretion is advised. Much of what we know about this story comes from Pilecki's own reports, smuggled out of Auschwitz at enormous personal risk, as well as historical records compiled by the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum, the Polish Underground State Archives, and the work of journalist Jack Fairweather, whose book, The Volunteer, reconstructed Pilecki's mission in detail. Let's back up. It's 1940. Germany has just invaded and occupied Poland. The war is a few months old. In the city of Krakow, the Nazis are setting up something new, a detention camp. They're using an old Polish army barracks. They call it Konzentrationslager Auschwitz. At first, it's built for Polish political prisoners, resistance fighters, intellectuals, anyone who might push back against the occupation. The Polish Underground, a secret resistance network operating inside occupied Poland, starts hearing rumors. People are going in, nobody's coming out. But they don't really know what's happening inside. They need someone in there. The problem is, who would ever volunteer for that? Witold Pilecki was 39 years old, a cavalry officer, a soldier, a farmer, a family man with 2 kids. He was also one of the co-founders of a secret Polish resistance organization called the Secret Polish Army. By the summer of 1940, Pilecki had already been running underground operations for months, forging documents, moving people, organizing cells, but none of that felt like enough. He believed someone needed to get inside Auschwitz, organize a resistance from within, and send back intelligence to the outside world. So he came up with a plan. He'd go in himself. He forged a fake identity, took the name Tomasz Serafiński, and on September 19th, 1940, he walked straight into a German street roundup. On purpose, he let himself get arrested. 2 days later, Pilecki arrived at Auschwitz with a transport of around 1,700 other prisoners. What he saw immediately was designed to break people. Prisoners were stripped. Their heads were shaved. They were given numbers tattooed on their skin. Pilecki's was 4859. From that moment, you weren't a person anymore. You were a number. The guards beat prisoners for fun. Selections happened constantly. The weak, the sick, anyone who slowed down was simply removed. The food was starvation level. Dysentery, typhus, pneumonia spread through the barracks like wildfire. Men died every single day. And yet, Pilecki stayed focused. Within weeks, he started making contact, quietly, carefully, one prisoner at a time. Pilecki began organizing a secret cell inside the camp. They called themselves the Union of Military Organizations, ZOW. The structure was simple, small groups of 5 men each. Nobody knew who was in another group. That way, if one man broke under torture, the whole network wouldn't collapse. They smuggled extra food to keep people alive longer. They organized access to the camp's infirmary to protect members from being worked to death. They gathered intelligence, names, numbers, what was being built, what was happening to new arrivals. And then, Pilecki found a way out for the information. Prisoners who worked outside the camp walls, in kitchens, in laundries, could make contact with civilians. Pilecki's network built a chain of couriers. His reports started making it out. Here's where the story gets harder to sit with. Pilecki's reports reached the Polish government in exile in London. They reached British intelligence. They described mass shootings, starvation, medical experiments, systematic extermination. By 1941, his reports were explicitly describing what we now know as the Holocaust. before most of the world had any idea it was happening. The British received the reports, so did the Americans, and they didn't act, not because they didn't believe it. Some of them did, but Auschwitz wasn't a military target. Bombing the railways to the camp wasn't a priority. The war effort came first. The people best positioned to stop it chose not to. Pilecki kept writing anyway. The war 1942, Auschwitz had become something far worse than a detention camp. The Nazis were now using it as an extermination center. Gas chambers, crematoria, industrial-scale murder. Jewish families were arriving by the trainload from across occupied Europe. Told they were being resettled, walked straight to their deaths. Pilecki saw all of it. He was still there, nearly 3 years in. His network had grown to hundreds of members inside the camp, but he was also starting to realize something devastating. The uprising he'd hoped to organize wasn't coming. The outside help he'd planned for wasn't coming either. Nobody was coming. In April 1943, Pilecki made a decision. He had to get out, physically carry his testimony to the outside world. He and 2 other prisoners managed to get assigned to a night shift at a camp bakery just outside the main fence. On the night of April 26th, they overpowered a guard, cut the phone lines, and ran. The Nazis sent dogs after them. They ran through fields, swam through a river, hid in forests for days. They made it out. Pilecki eventually reached Warsaw and rejoined the Polish underground. He compiled his full report, over 100 pages, describing everything he'd witnessed in Auschwitz over nearly 3 years. It became one of the most detailed first-hand accounts of the Holocaust ever written. Here's the part most people don't know. After the war ended in 1945, Poland wasn't free. The Soviet Union installed a communist government. The same underground resistance that had fought the Nazis was now being hunted by a new regime. Pilecki, instead of leaving Poland and living safely in exile, stayed. He started gathering intelligence on Soviet atrocities, on political arrests, on what the new government was really doing. He was doing it again, volunteering himself into danger. In 1947, the communist Polish secret police arrested him. They tortured him for months. In a show trial, he was accused of espionage, illegal border crossing, and carrying illegal weapons. He was sentenced to death. On May 25th, 1948, Witold Pilecki was executed with a single bullet to the back of the head. He was 47 years old. The communist government buried his story completely. He was declared an enemy of the state. His name was erased from Polish history. His reports were classified. For decades, you couldn't even mention his name in Poland without consequences. His family wasn't told where he was buried. His wife and children lived for years not knowing his fate for certain, and the world outside Poland barely knew he existed. It wasn't until 1989, when communism collapsed in Poland, that Pilecki was officially rehabilitated. His files were finally opened. His reports were published. Historians started piecing together what he'd actually done. In 2013, Poland awarded him the highest state honor, posthumously. But here's what stays with you. This man voluntarily walked into Auschwitz. He spent nearly 3 years inside one of the worst places in human history. He built a resistance network from scratch. He sent out some of the earliest and clearest warnings about the Holocaust. And the people who received those warnings didn't act. Pilecki did everything right. He got the intelligence out. He trusted the right institutions to do something with it. They let him down. Then, after surviving all of that, he was killed not by the Nazis, but by the next government that took over. Shot in the back of the head by the same state he'd risked everything to protect. There's no clean ending here. Just a man who believed that doing the right thing was worth it, no matter the cost. And a world that still hasn't fully reckoned with what it looked away from. Pilecki's full report is now available in English, translated and published. The book, The Volunteer by Jack Fairweather, is also an excellent place to start. Both are linked in the description.